Welcome to the Lead with Your Soul podcast. I'm Michelle Wright, your host and fellow traveler on this journey of self-discovery. This podcast is designed for women navigating life transitions and yearning to embrace their true selves. I'll be sharing my personal journey from navigating the complexities of divorce and blending families to reshaping my career to something that resonates with my soul. With 3 decades as a teacher and mentor, I'm here to share insights, heartfelt stories, and practical strategies. Together, we'll explore how to cultivate self-love and create the vibrant, fulfilling life you deserve. Join me each week as we dive deep into the art of living authentically. Welcome to the Lead with Your Soul podcast. I'm Michelle Wright, your host, and I'm so glad you're here. Today, we have our wonderful guest, Sharlene Sexton, who is here to talk about the astrology that's coming up in the next month. April is another one of those big astrological months in 2026, and Charlene's going to guide us through how we can get the most out of it, or in the midst of some of that astrological weather, how we can just tuck in and ride the waves. Welcome, Sharlene. I'm so glad to have you back.
Hi, Michelle. How you going? Good to see you again.
Yes. So what do you have for us to prepare as we move into this different astrological season? Or are you planning, should we recap a little bit of what we did with the eclipses? Does it all kind of tie together?
Yeah, look, I think it really does. And like you said, for April coming up, we have got some wild weather, I guess, going on astrologically, but it's good for us. This is a fantastic time of the year where with Aries. So the Aries energy, so Aries being the first sign of the zodiac, means that this is our reset time. So this is, we have Chinese New Year, we have our own New Year. Well, this is the astrological New Year. And it's a fantastic time to just start again. You can just start everything again, set new intentions and things like that. So I guess with the eclipse season, what we get there is a lot of disruption, it brings up a lot of different energies perhaps that we're not kind of used to. It shakes our tree a little bit. We get from the tarot, we get some tower moments where things start to break down a little bit. And it can be a really confusing time because it's, you don't want any of this stuff to happen. When you think, why is this happening? And this is ugly or it's terrible. It's too hard. I can't deal with it. But it's all for a really good reason. It's just really to prepare us for this new beginning that's coming up. So the first thing that we have is that the sun actually enters into Aries. And this is a really fresh new energy. So it gives us a chance to, like I say, this is our reset point and our chance to begin again in the areas that we want to change. We've got Mercury retrograde is ending, so we don't get that little pullback that sometimes we get where we're trying to move forward and there's these little delays and things like that that annoy us. So Mercury gets out of the way and starts moving forward again. And so I keep saying reset, but that's really what it is. It's just a chance to reset everything. So things that, maybe not working out the way you want, now's the time to sort of be able to change that. And then from there, we've just had our Equinox, and the Equinox just really gives us the balance. So the balance between, what's the important things in our lives that we really should be looking at and how we can balance that out. It could be your work-life balance. It could be something in your relationship, something to do with your kids that you start to balance out that energy. And even for yourself, a bit of self-love. Are you spending too much time at work and, you're forgetting to do your workouts or have a nice cup of tea and, take some time out. So it's about the balance that's going on. And then from there, quite soon now, we move into our full moon in Libra on April the 2nd. And so the Libra energy, now we're talking about all of our relationships. We've gone from chaos into balance, and now we're really going to focus in on relationships. And it's not just our love lives, it's again, relationships with kids, and we're looking at the balance. So Libra is the scales, so the balance energy sort of moves on. And it's about how to make those relationships a little bit more balanced in our lives. Are you giving too much to somebody who's not giving anything back to you? Same with your kids, maybe they're getting a bit older and you might need to balance out the energy that you give them and maybe give them a little bit more freedom as well. So it's all about harmony and communication. And there is a bit of a clash with Venus moving into Pluto. And so that can bring some power struggles as well. So in your relationship, it's like, who wears the pants, and maybe do you need to take them off for a while and let him have a little go? Or even with your kids, if you're trying to rule their lives a bit too much, is it time for you to back that off a little bit? And so you can have some really heavy emotional conversations around that sort of stuff, talking about your relationship and just getting that energy out and being able to be open with people as well. So it's the full moon in Libra gives you a really great opportunity for that. And also to let go of some stuff as well. So coming out of that balance, there may be some things where you go, do you know what, I really don't want to be that person anymore, or maybe that's a part of my personality that I could do with getting rid of. Or it can mean just letting go of even, maybe there's some toxic people in your life that you sort of grin and bear them for a little while, but maybe it's time to sort of just let them go as well. So I don't know if any of that, how does that all sit with you as far as what's coming up?
It's like you just told me what's been happening in my life. So it's funny because for me, the eclipses, when they went through, it really had to do a lot with my business. And I had a bit of a shakeup, recognizing I wanted to work with women in transition. And the challenge, though, with an online business is that you need to niche down in order to reach the women that you really want to serve. And so it was a real shift for me to recognize that I needed to niche down, working with women in divorce most specifically. And even when you talk about like that balance, it's the balance of, I didn't think in my whole life I wanted to be known as this woman who has had 2 divorces and is on her 3rd marriage. And, like, I always used to say, "Oh, I'm one of these dynasty women." And yet the balance is coming into right relationship with myself, understanding myself and recognizing the gift I have is that I have moved myself through all of these shifts and changes. And I am able to help women. So that very shame that I am working with is allowing me to go through and help women in the same way and navigate their divorces, because I've actually met a beautiful man, which you met as well. And I've been able to have this relationship with this best friend of mine. And without navigating all of the things that I have, I wouldn't be here. And that's what I can offer women from a perspective of experience and walking myself through into waking up in higher consciousness. And I see that because it just fits as we move into Aries. And I had all of this shakeup, all of this really thinking about what I wanted, all of this. I had to think a lot about the balance for myself of a business and what we're doing. Did I really want to do it? And saying the yes. So as we move into this Aries and this new year, for me, it's yes, this is what I want to do. I want to serve women. What does this look like? And then when you talk about this happening in Libra, it actually really fits for what I'm talking about as well. And I know in my own chart, a lot of these crunchy energy is happening in my 7th house of relationships. So I'm already preparing myself to be okay. Power struggles, just take a breath. Do not respond for 24 hours. Don't, right? Like just relax, process emotions first. So it really does sit well in what's happening, what has happened, and what will happen.
Yeah, that's really great. And the other thing for you is like with your business and things like that, and you've come to the decision where you've figured out where your niche is going to be, and you come to that balance. Now is the time, because we're in Aries. Now's the time for it all to start fresh again, so you can have a whole new perspective on that, and you'll have a fresh energy around it, and all the new ideas will start to flow, and the right people will be drawn to you as you begin this reset period. And it'll be a reset period for those people that do connect with you as well, that are going through this or have gone through it before. So you've got that, the energy, it's just the perfect time for all of this to, be happening for us. And I think we should all be grateful and be walking around with big smiles on our faces, because it's like, woohoo, we get to start again. You can kind of forget everything that's gone on recently, but you take the energy of that chaos and everything, that just to remind you, so you don't know what you do want until you know what you don't want, if you know what I mean. So you've been through, well, that's the stuff I don't want. So now you can fully focus on your intentions for where you want to go. And then to double down on that, we're coming up to April 17 and we get an Aries new moon as well. So there's another reset. And so our new moons are the beginning of the lunar cycle for us each month. And generally it would give us the opportunity to set new intentions. But to have it in Aries, it's like, just go for it. Like, set every big hairy intention that you want. Like, put your goals down, write them all down, even if you think they're ridiculous or they could never come true. Now's the time to get them out there, because you're beginning that whole 12-month cycle. And as we go through the cycle, the new moons will touch on every area of your life. So depending on what sign they're in. So Aries is our reset. So we've got our sun in Aries. Now we're going to have new moon in Aries. The beginning of a new 12-month cycle. So it's an energetic whole new year. Set intentions, make decisions, choose new directions. But you're not rushing into it all. So it's not about, just making split decisions. This is about being really intentional and really being honest with yourself and going, okay, we just went through all that crunchy stuff. What is it out of that I really want to move forward with? And really be intentional about that. Write it down in your journal. It's the most important thing you can do, is make note of it in your journal. Not only does it give you the opportunity to go back and have a look at what you were talking about. And look, if you're disciplined enough and you've got a journal from last year, definitely go back and have a look at what were your intentions that you set at the start of when we had new moon in Aries last year, and what of those things actually came true. And you'll be really surprised about what you wrote back then that actually has come true for you. And it's not till you read back on it that you'll recognize it and you'll go, well, yeah, so that happened and that happened. And it might be in slightly different ways. The universe, picks the ways for us. But yeah, go back and have a look. And if you didn't do that, that's fine. Let's do it. Start this year, right? This is the new time to start. And then every new moon, you get the opportunity to set new intentions. So yeah, and it can be a good time to even start working with new moons too. If you're not doing it, now's a great time to do that. And then from there, we will actually move into on May 2nd. And this is one of my favourite times of the year. I'm Scorpio rising and Scorpio moon. So we get a full moon in Scorpio. So how does this fit in? So full moon in Scorpio, now we're talking about really deep transformations. So the intentions that you're setting at the new moon in Aries, which is April 17, set those intentions. And then when you get to the Scorpio full moon, then things really start to shake up. So this is when you might just drill down on 2 or 3 of those things that you set the intentions for. And that's really where your transformation is going to be. So your full moon is also a time where we want to let go of things as well. So intentions that you've set, not all of them maybe will carry forward or whatever. Let go of the ones that, when you think about it again, you're like, oh yeah, probably don't really need to focus on that. Let's build something else. So it brings, full moon in Scorpio brings a lot of intensity as well. So just get ready for that. It's going to really make you focus in on the areas of your life that you want to bring some significant change to. So it will bring a lot of emotions to the surface as well. Scorpio is very emotional, and that can be really consuming. You'll get some emotional truths. You'll get some deep healing, transformations. You'll find yourself probably having some really deep conversations with people, and this can come out of your intentions. So, we'll have Libra, which is your relationships. So that'll move into your intentions. So you can see how the energy just flows, and it keeps you in that circle that you need to be in of creating intentions and then moving forward. It asks you to, the full moon will also ask you to absolutely feel everything. Sorry, my throat's a bit funny today. So to feel everything, but not stay stuck in any one place. So you need to release some things. Don't bring the yucky stuff forward with you. Just let that go. Any old wounds, any, say, resentment or any emotional baggage, it's really a good time to just let go of all that stuff as the full moon comes. And then Scorpio doesn't ever do anything halfway either. So it's either going to be all in or just let it go. So it's going to be the area that you're focusing on is going to be absolutely what you focus on for the next 28 days, 30 days for that lunation. And it means, you need to be journaling, you need to be doing your shadow work, you need to be doing some honest reflections, but it can be a really profound personal transformation time coming up. I'm just going to grab a sip of water.
Yeah, I'm just going to even go back to the April 2nd. I'm going to talk a bit about this. And I know, you know what, the truth, you and I were going to record this last weekend. And the conversation that you and I had together was so powerful because it spoke about this new energy that was coming in. We recognized we were both at this pivotal point of choosing what we wanted to create. And it was a powerful discussion for both you and I to talk about holding the energy for what we want. And that whole idea of April 2nd being, the beginning of new. It was just perfect timing because you with your business, me with my business, really starting to say, okay, how can we hold this? How can we hold this energy for what we're trying to create and not keep on getting back into the negatives, the what if it goes wrong? What if I'm not enough? The what if negative, instead holding the what if positive. Another powerful piece that we talked about was because I just remember we were talking about car parks and you
Yeah.
talking about how, oh, well, since we've met each other 7 years ago, you've always had car parks. It was easy for you. And really recognizing as we start this new that whether you hold the energy for a car park or a successful business, they're the same, or a new house, or like whatever it is, a new relationship, whatever you're trying to build in your life starting April 2nd, it didn't matter. And for me, that was part of that also shifting and changing and becoming really clear for this April 2nd coming up about, yes, this is what I want to create. This is what I want to hold the energy for. This is what I want to. We talked about staying in that energy loop for ourselves, and it really fits. And for me, it fits then when you come a month later, I can see the emotions of Scorpio, recognizing once again as I try and hold that energy, I can recognize that the shadow self will be like, "Oh, but you're not good enough," and, "Oh, it didn't go exactly as you planned, and this is because of you," right? So there's gonna be that relationship with self, that uncovering of those hidden truths that we keep deep inside of ourselves. I can see that coming out in Scorpio because we talked about holding that energy, and it's gonna be hard, and it's gonna be like, "No, but I'm gonna check back because 'cause I'm trying to create this new." So this astrological new you've talked about. So I see how they will fit quite well. Because whenever I go into the full moon and Scorpio energy, that's when I find I can have real deep self-doubts. I can just go into that darker hole, and my goal this year is to stay within that, holding that, yes, all of that can be true. I can have things I need to heal. I can have things I need to get better at. I can have things that I need to release. And I can connect to being this spirit in a human body that is connected to the abundance of all the universe.
Yeah, and that is absolutely true. And like you're saying, it's happening for me in my life as well with my business, as we talked about. And my business has nothing to do with online, but it's the same sorts of energies that are coming up all the time in our business. And I think having these little conversations about what's coming up, for me, it also brings me hope as well. So I look at what's coming up in the new moons, and it's like, okay, so the next thing's talking about relationships, and yeah, I can see some places where that fits in for me, and that's something for me to look forward to. So when those conversations come up, I go, oh yeah, well, this is the energy that we were talking about, and you can settle into them. You know that it's part of this, the universe is set up for us, that we get the opportunity to go through these things, and it's all at the right time. And then thinking about, as you were saying, the energy of Scorpio coming up and the deep transformations between here and now, Like, it's something for you to think about when you're doing your transition, or you're in setting your intentions, I should say, knowing that, okay, I'm setting my intentions now and I'm going to keep thinking about them and keep coming back to them and keep journaling, because I know when we get to May 2nd, the energy is going to shift, and some of those things are actually really going to there's going to be some big transformations. And that's such a beautiful energy to hold on to. Like you say, it gives you the opportunity to look forward to something, like to have that, you're sitting in the yes energy, which is exactly what you're saying. You're sitting in that yes energy, and that's where you want to be. But it's okay. It's definitely okay to have the other stuff going on. It's how you're bringing that on, or it's how you're dealing with that, I guess, in your own mind. And you're, like you say, oh yeah, I'm pretty shitty at doing this or whatever, but I could be better and I want to be better. And that's the beginning of the yes. So, you've got this thing that you're dealing with, and then you go, but I could probably do it differently. Maybe there's something I could look up. Maybe I could read a book. Maybe I'd be in that area. And things will start to be drawn to you. And then all of a sudden, you've got this little upwards trajectory. And then you're like, oh, hang on a minute. I can probably completely transform that in my life. And then you come to the Scorpio energy and bang, here's your transformations. That's how that energy builds and how you can focus on it. And we did have a fantastic conversation, and that's the great thing between you and I, is whenever we get online to see each other, anything can happen, really. Like, we can end up talking about all sorts of things, but sitting in that energy and knowing what's coming up in the moons, I think, is a really good starting point if you're not sure. I've given Michelle some PDF documents that hopefully will get attached to the show notes here, and that gives you a chance to have a look at where these moons will actually be sitting in your houses. So have a read through those documents. I've got an example of what's coming up in the moon, and then you can pick out what house for you it's in. It's all in the document. And then you can read what part of your life is that going to be impacting on most. And that's another thing that gives you a focus point, I guess, of the areas in your life that you can be looking at now, and where you can be setting intentions. So yeah, I think it's a great time. And then we get to move on into other moons, and we'll come back and do that. So I think, the big picture stuff is, if you want to be the observer, and quite often it doesn't hurt to sort of imagine yourself up there looking down on what's going on around the place. So what we've had is a lot of shake-up, and we can see it worldwide as well as what's going on worldwide, and, what we're all dealing with. So we've had the eclipses with a big shake-up. The Equinox brought a little bit more balance and sort of said, well, there's energies on either side here that we need to look at. And then Libra is going to show us the truths about our relationships and things like that. And you'll see that reflected worldwide as well, even with the political leaders, how they're balancing out their relationships and having those conversations as well. And then Aries gives us this massive reset opportunity. Aries, Sun in Aries, Moon in Aries, that's a lot of Aries energy. So that's good. And then once we get to Scorpio, then here come the big transformations that set us up for the rest of the year. So yeah, it's not random either. Like, this isn't random energy that's just coming out of nowhere. And I think if you talk to your friends about even just that big picture stuff, oh, there was some stuff going on in my life, a while ago, and then it kind of evened out. And then I had a conversation with such and such, and, that sort of resolved that issue. You'll see it, like, you'll see that energy that we're talking about. And it's probably a good way to look back over it is when we mention, well, this was the energy here, and then moving forward, this is what we've got coming. And then we'll do more podcasts and then talk about what else is coming along and how you can just keep that flowing throughout your life and picking up on those energies. But like you say, staying positive. So yeah, if things have been a bit hectic lately, there's nothing set in concrete. It's just about that energy. And I guess the big question is, what are you going to build from here? You've got the opportunity. What are you going to do with it? Where are your intentions going to lie?
And that's a really good, powerful question. And often I find when we look at what we want to build, because that question we answer with what is possible instead of what is it you want to build, and then you co-create with spirit. That is a very different energetic way, as opposed to saying, oh, well, then I can do this. It's not the plan. You're talking about this big picture, energetic, what is it I want to build in my life, which is so powerful. Getting clear on that. And I find in my work with women, it's actually the hardest thing. We find a way to know everyone around us that we serve our parents, our kids, our friends, our spouses, our partners. We know exactly what makes them tick, what they love, what they want to create, and how to support them. And yet, for ourselves, it is harder to really tap into what is that, the highest potential, the most, you talked about it, that most audacious dream that you can have, not one that you've tempered because you're like, well, that's too big. I shouldn't do that. And we even talked about that, you and I last week, how our language is already saying, oh, well, no, not that. We've already
Yeah.
tempered it for language. So we're changing that and just allowing ourselves to have that big dream and holding that space for that big dream. And so I'm in this beautiful place of Victoria. So in Canada, the rest of Canada is in snow. So that's the truth. We are moving back to snow, driving across the mountains into snow next Tuesday. And I was thinking about the hope, and you spoke about that. So I want to pull that
Yeah.
thread through. Like, I look at these gorgeous flowers, these spring flowers that are here, and we just had the cherry blossoms come out, and now their beautiful leaves are coming. Spring is here. And I'm going to go back, and we won't have spring for another month and a half in Alberta. And it's like hope is somewhere. And I think the moon allows us, no matter where you are, to have this hope of evolution. You get to revisit that. So if you didn't quite get it this time, you get to revisit it again, this spiraling upward, this growing upward. And it just brings you a hope of transformation, evolution, just a continuous. And I see my spiral going upwards because I'm learning more and more. I'm choosing more and more to become more conscious of myself and my place in this world in an energetic way. And I find these conversations help me because they ground me in that hope and that possibility of how to move forward and give me some concrete steps. So I love that when you say, what is it that you want to create? What is that big, wild, incredible goal that you want to hold energy for over this next year to bring into your life?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really wonderful time of the year, and building on, that energy. I was going to say, for a lot of women that are listening to your podcast as well, it's about giving yourself a break. Like, stop beating up on yourself so much. It's okay to dream, and it's okay to believe that you could have a better life. And the basic point of life is, for most of us, we just want to be happy.
Yeah.
And we want our friends and family to be happy. And even if that's the energy that you hold, if that's the only energy that you can hold on to say, I just want everyone in my life, including myself, to be happier, then just hold that. That's enough to get you started on the trajectory of moving up. The universe will pitch in and help you with all the rest of it and bring you the things in your life that you need, or that, shake you up like we've just had, and bring you transitions, transformations. And all you've got to do is hold the energy for it and allow it. And like you say, when you were saying before with your hands up, it's like holding that big ball, and everything's in there. It's the good, the bad, the ugly. It's all in there, but you've just got to hold space for all of it with the intention of hope, promise, a better life, being happy, bringing joy to other people, shining your light. If that's your, the energy moving forward, that's all you need to do. The universe will pretty much look after the rest of it.
So beautifully said. And no matter which modality I'm using, no matter where I go, it all comes to an inner journey. And the greatest place that you can be is in love. Love with
Yes.
self, love of others, love of this earth, love of the universe. Just this beautiful sense of love, and love of the dualities, like you talked about, that good and the bad, and just love. And so isn't that interesting? You just described that as well, as that's actually the highest version of who we can be, is
Yeah.
moving through all of this with love. And for me, I have to put in compassion because I need that self-compassion. I am so critical with self. So I need to add that compassion so that I can just sit in love and just say, give yourself a break. I love that. Give yourself a break. Just if you can't do it today, start tomorrow. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. You're moving along. when you're doing this. So it is an important journey. And I'm hoping that the listeners, as they pick out whichever words, phrases, or images for them really resonate, where they can start, that is their beginning. And I invite the listeners, just send me at michellewright.co on my Instagram if you have any questions specific for Sharlene and I as we go through these. Please send them there and we can discuss specific topics you have and dig deeper into those questions. And next time, we're going to continue looking at the moon, where the astrology is bringing us and what's going on.
Sounds good. Great to see you.
Yes. So for all my listeners, until next time, keep leading with your soul.
That wraps up another episode of the Lead with Your Soul podcast. I'm so grateful you chose to spend this time with me. As you navigate your own life transitions, remember to be gentle with yourself and embrace the journey. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe and share it with others who might benefit. Join me next week for more insights and inspiration. Until next time, keep leading with your soul.